Welcome to the PT Legends podcast, where co-host Dave Bess and myself, Scott Carpenter, share our journey and secrets of success. From our humble beginnings as personal training employees of a big box gym to struggling studio owners that have made every mistake in the book, to where we are now, the owners of a multi-seven-figure business operating multiple personal training studios internationally, and now coach and mentor to fitness professionals in 5 countries and counting. This is our story, and these are our secrets. Subscribe to our podcast, learn, take action, and build your own fitness empire. Welcome everyone to this episode of the PT Legends Show. Today, I'm going to rock solo. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter. I'm going without Dave today, but special guests on. So this episode is about when franchising is worth it in the personal training world. And special guests, Jeff Larsh and Dan Visentin with Greenlight Personal Training Franchising Systems is on it. Welcome, Jeff and Dan.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to give everybody a little bit of background, guys, you know myself, you know Dave Bess, you know that we own 6 gyms. You know us from PT Legends, right? And us teaching our systems to gym owners and personal trainers and now online coaches across the world. What you may or may not know is that we also are an official franchisor, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do, but it's an incredibly proud thing to do. And the only reason is because of these 2 guys on the podcast today, Jeff and Dan. They are the co-founders of Greenlight Personal Training. And, you know, they kind of challenged me. I don't even remember how it even started, guys. How did it even come up? We've gone so far, so fast already. How did the conversations come up? I don't even remember anymore at this point.
Jeff, I'll let you take that one.
You want me to handle that one?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can barely remember last week, Scott. I don't know.
I know
you're pushing me back a couple of years now. Where did it start? Honestly, I think the 4 of us knew of each other for a while. We had been in some groups together, done some strategizing together. And I know Dan and I had been talking for years about trying to figure out a new project to work on, something that we could kind of use our previous skill sets and our previous experiences and really take something new to the market. And I can't remember exactly how the conversation started, but at one point we sat down, the 4 of us, and we kind of started asking ourselves the question, if we could do it all over again, what would it look like? What mistakes have we made, and where would we kind of take a different route? I think it was something else at the beginning. I don't know. We had multiple names at the beginning, but
yes, I remember that.
It started. Yeah.
Because for those of you who don't know, like Jeff and Dan, they both own very successful CrossFit gyms. Among other things. And they're very successful entrepreneurs and have a lot going on. And I know you guys were looking for the next big thing. And I think it was because Jeff, initially, I think it was you coming to me with stuff because you had seen how our systems in our personal gyms were just taking off. And you saw our numbers and our revenues and a lot of that kind of stuff. And then you knew a bunch of the people we started working with at PT Legends and saw how they implemented these systems and just blew up with revenue and profitability. And then, you started kind of probing and asking questions about that. Like, because we had our gyms like Underground Fitness that have evolved over the last decade, and they've implemented these systems. You challenged me and said like, hey, what would it look like if you did this all over again? You started a brand new studio and made it the absolute perfect personal training model. Knowing everything you know now, everything that's changed, and you've got locations from 1,300 square feet to 2,700 square feet. And what is that footprint? How would you pay people, right? What would the equipment look like? How would you implement this high ticket thing that's just crushing it inside of the perfect one to maximize profitability and to minimize overhead and risk and staffing and all that kind of stuff? And so then, because Jeff, you have a lot of skill sets. Dan has a ton of skill sets. Like he's the marketing guy, right? And then Dave being the Kool-Aid man, right? We all kind of came together and started looking at it. started sharing our ideas and this and that of how it would be the perfect personal training model. And it went from there.
Yeah, I think to dig deeper into that, I think ultimately what ended up happening was like, okay, well, we all see major gaps in the market, right? And ultimately that's what Greenlight is trying to solve. So we saw problems at the client level. You know, fitness industry is huge. Most gyms don't get their clients' results. Let's be honest here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we saw problems at the employee level, meaning personal trainers, coaches, really not making much of a living. A lot of people get into the industry and then they get out very, very quickly because they don't see, you know, much of a future in it from a sustainability standpoint. Their hours are all over the place. You know, they're not making enough money. Once they start having a family and things like that, it's just not sustainable to stay in the industry. And then we looked at it where all of us had a lot more experience, was in gym ownership. And we saw, why are there so many gym owners struggling? Right. And so we said, can we solve all three of these problems with one model? And, you know, Scott, yours and Dave's concept was really the basis and the foundation for doing that, for solving those three problems.
Yeah. And it's a tough nut to crack. Like, you see franchises for Orange Theories and F45s and boot camps, large group stuff, right? That have just all that. The problem is, you know, especially because Dave and I coming from the personal training background, most personal trainers don't want to do Orange Theory. Like they don't do those workouts themselves. Mm-hmm. Right? They find them very limiting. And that's a big problem, right? That is a big problem. Some get into it because they feel that's where the money might be, or that's their next step or the only step. And it's just not. Like personal training, you rarely see multiple locations, right? And it's very hard to duplicate because there, like you guys said, there's inherent weaknesses in those systems that make it very difficult to duplicate. And, you know, Dave and I have done it with our gyms. With our gyms, we have multiple ones, right? And it's going very, very well. And, you know, yeah, we took a lot of these foundations on these systems that just work and changed our, granted, we've had them for 10 years, but over the last 2 years, as we've made these changes, it's a whole nother ball game. And now this is something that can be incredibly turnkey. And it is so profitable with low risk comparative to a lot of other models that it's just the way to go. And I mean, that's a big problem with personal trainers. They love to have their own studio, but let's be honest, most of them fail or struggle very badly for a very, very long time. And there aren't really any turnkey solutions out there. And it's a tough, and that's why you don't see a lot. Most independent personal training studios don't do very well, aren't around very long. And it could be they're not making money. It could be they're just burned out. They're not making enough money to be able to pay an awesome manager to run the place, to do sales, to hire a cleaner, to have somebody do the marketing for them properly. And they can't do it. It's too many hats. I don't even want to do it. I know how to do it, right? And the cool thing is we're converting some undergrounds to Greenlights, where we have the entire support system of everything we've built, and we've got you two helping them be successful on the back end. And it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I guess it started because, like, hey, you know, you guys saw the results that our gyms got. You saw the results that other gyms got, even though they weren't fine-tuned to this. And then we decided, like, hey, let's test this puppy, right? Let's start up a new location in COVID in Toronto, Canada. Right? Probably that's a good testing ground, you know, to see how you can do. And to do it where you guys are running it part-time. Like not owner-operator going in there working full-time. And so we found a space and got off and going, and it's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. We're starting that up and running it part-time as like a side project. And that's what we wanted to do to really test this guy. See how it did in the market, right? Starting up from scratch.
Yeah, I think the important steps here, you know, that we took was how can we round out the edges, and how can we kind of take what you and Dave built so beautifully and turn it into something that we can bring to market in a mass sort of scale. There were different options out there for us. We could have just licensed the thing. That gives us less control on kind of what this thing looks like. And so we decided to take, albeit the more expensive way, into franchising. But I think what it does is it gives us kind of, a very clean product that is very replicable, and brings something different, new, sustainable to the fitness industry that's actually designed to make personal trainers stay in the industry and, make a living doing it, right? With different options. Because what I hear a lot from personal trainers is, they don't want to open their own gyms because they don't want to get stuck being the business owner. Because being the business owner and being the trainer on the floor are two very different things. And so our model is kind of designed that it can allow you, should you want to be a solo studio owner, to still do what you love, but earn a great living, work the hours that you want to work. And be able to kind of keep it sustainable as your career. But there's also room for those who, do want to be that business owner, but still want to be in the fitness industry. And you can go in as that owner operator and move to multiple locations and hire staff, but you're going to get our support on how to do that the best way, instead of trying to figure all this stuff out on your own, because, we've all been through it. Right? Trying to start a gym up, a brand from scratch, and then scale it. Jeff, you've gone to 5 locations. Scott, you're at 6 locations. Like, these things, this is not easy to do. Right. And, there's high risk involved in trying to do it. And so if you're looking for something that, can get to profitability very, very quickly, get your clients results, and allow you to kind of do what you want to do as a fitness professional, that's what Greenlight is, and that's what we set out to provide.
Yeah, and we're just going to shortcut you 10 years. It took 10 years of me making every kind of mistake and flirting with bankruptcy more than once to be able to get to this point. And everything that we built is better than all of my existing gyms. It is. It's just better. It's designed better. Everything flows better. You can maximize profit and reduce your risk better. The amount of pay that you can have for your employees, so you don't have to worry about losing them. You don't have to worry about them leaving, taking a third of your clients, paying rent down the street, or starting up their own studio. They're very unlikely to do that. And we've all had those experiences before. If you all have a gym, and if you're an independent personal trainer looking at like, hey, someday I would love to have my own studio, guys, you really need to look in to running a Greenlight. You will save 10 years of mistakes, agony, hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching. It's the cost of not doing it is so massive. If this opportunity existed 10 years ago, when I set off on my own, I would probably have 50 locations myself by now. I mean, that's just the reality of it. If I've got 6 going through it and taking this long to learn things and everything, wow. It'd be amazing where I would be if I just had the recipes to success right there. Absolutely. And you can afford such an amazing opportunity for other trainers. What are their options? What are their options? What are your options? What are other options? Get a job at a big box gym. Most of them do not pay very well. Some do, but they own you. You're doing closeouts. You are working hard and dealing with some corporate BS, but most do not pay very well at all. Or independent PT paying rent somewhere. And a lot of them leave these big box places and do this. But what happens when your 3 diehard clients move away, or one has an injury? Like, that's what happens. They drop in 3s. And if you're an independent personal trainer and all of a sudden your income goes down $2 or $3 grand a month, that's pretty scary. And you don't have your own place, it's a little bit harder to acquire clients that way. And those are really your main options to make it. This is the best option. Absolutely. If you want to go off on your own and you want to do that. And again, if you're attracting these employees, it's really easy to offer them the best job in your geographic area. They can make more money with dealing with less of the BS and just stick to what they're good at. You don't have to force them to sell supplements. You don't have to force them to do nutrition coaching if they're not comfortable. You don't have to force them to sell if you don't need them to sell. It's really easy to scale this thing, unlike everything else I've tried in 10 years.
Yeah. But there are risks, right? And like the risks that people will take, with franchising can be a little bit scary to some people when they hear about it, maybe because they're not educated enough on it. Mm-hmm. But the risks are that, you pay a franchising fee, you pay a percentage every month. But what we provide in value is supposed to save you tons of time and money over the long haul to actually speed up your success and get you to a place that always has support and has the ability to kind of scale to multiple locations should you want to. And I think that's very, very important if you're a personal trainer kind of sitting out there looking at the marketplace and okay, where do I fit here? Okay, do I fit as an independent PT? Do I go online now, which is huge business? Do I, rent at a different studio? Do I try to open my own brand? Well, looking at your own skill sets would be the first place to start, right? Mm-hmm. Do I have the skill sets in business to kind of build up my own brand, maintain clientele, marketing, sales, everything that goes into building a business? Do you have that skill set? If not, do you have the time to acquire it?
Right.
And so where franchising comes in is we bring a systematized approach to the market so that personal trainers can use these, tried and tested systems to run a business that they can be proud of, deliver a product that they're used to delivering to their clients anyways, or at least maybe they've tried to, but had limits where they were working before. And they're able to do that by owning a Greenlight and leaning on us for marketing, leaning on us for sales training, leaning on us for brand building, leaning on us for, employee training as well. All of these things are the benefits of opening a franchise, and you get brand power. And what I mean by that is we've been in different marketplaces. We've been doing this. We've made the mistakes that you don't have to make now because you get to lean on our expertise. So that is what the real value, as I see it, in a franchise is. I know, the word franchise can be scary because you think of these massive brands out there and you think they're just money sucking kind of organizations. But, in truth, that's not the case. We actually developed Greenlight as a franchise model so that we can try to have more impact on the fitness community. Right. We want to have as much impact as possible at the client level, trainer level, and gym owner level. And this is what's going to allow us to do that.
Yeah, we had two routes to go, right? We had the license route or the franchise route. And license is far easier, far cheaper. But the problem is you're really limited on the help you can give the people who are receiving the license. You legally cannot help them that much. And we looked at that, and the failure rate is so high with this, guys. And the amount of people who are really successful, making amazing living out of it are so low that it's just like, sure, we'll make some money, but not everybody else is going to be set up to do it if we can't help them with this. And so we had a hard look at it, and we're like, holy cow, we're going to have to really go all in on the franchise model to make people successful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're legally limited with the help. And so we bit the bullet, spent obscene amounts of money, right? And learned the ins and outs and navigated all the red tape to do that. We really committed to it because it's that important. And Jeff, could you give everybody a rundown on kind of what makes a Greenlight a Greenlight? What does it look like? What's that footprint? What's different about it?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Greenlight is a small group personal training model that sells high ticket transformations in a holistic approach that allows our clients to get amazing results, the results that they've been looking for their entire life. One of our kind of ways we talk about the product that we offer is that there's 168 hours in a week. If you're in the gym 2 or 3 hours a week, and that's the only time you're spending on your health and wellness, that's not going to be enough. So we look at a more holistic approach. We look at nutrition, we look at accountability, we look at daily habits, movement, and strength training. So most of the stuff that happens in the studio is strength training, and we run that usually in small group training sessions, which is 3 to 6 people at a time. So that's kind of the basic product in a nutshell, which we can go into a lot more detail. There's a lot of ins and outs, and we've kind of put together our 60 plus years of gym ownership experience to create that journey and make that an exceptional experience for our clients. But from a franchising perspective, what you're looking for is, let me take a step. From a business perspective, what are you trying to do? Right? You're trying to keep your expenses as low as possible. And you're trying to maximize the revenues that you can make. Right? So how do you minimize expenses? Well, the smaller footprint you can have, the better, right? So how can you operate a personal training studio in 1,000 square feet? Well, if you have 4 to 5 clients on the floor at a time, that's going to be 4 to 5 coaches on the floor at a time. You're not operating at 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet. You're going to be looking at 2,500 to 3,000 square feet minimum. So immediately right there, what does that do? Well, one, it kind of takes you out of the prime areas that you can actually look at, because what are you going to spend $10,000, $15,000 a month on your rent? So our model allows you to have a very small footprint, set yourself up in we like to say it's next to the Starbucks, next to the Whole Foods. We want you right there. We want you with foot traffic. We want you with lots of cars driving by, and we want the rent that you're spending to be part of your marketing budget. And then when we're setting up the studios themselves, you're going to have probably about 800 to 1,000 square feet of actual workout space, with a very small area at the front in order for you to run your consults, in order to manage the studio, in order for you to kind of manage the back end of everything like that. And you're operating off of 4 major roles alone. And this is one of the kind of things I think that most businesses get wrong, is that they overcomplicate the systemizing of how the business is operated. And we operate off of 4 roles. We operate on a GM, somebody who's managing the admin and hiring and firing and the rest of it. We have a salesperson, somebody who's operating the consults and running the lead nurture, somebody who's doing our training on floor, strength coaches, and somebody who's doing the mentoring. And so the mentoring, nutrition, the other side of it. Now, one person can operate that whole system. That's easy because it is kind of broken up and clearly defined. But as you continue to grow, it's very easy to pull yourself out, move yourself into the positions you want, as Dan had mentioned earlier in the conversation. And so while we're looking at decreasing our expenses, we need to maximize revenues, right? So we need to be able to produce what I like to say per hour. How much can you produce per hour in your studio on the gym floor in order for you to be profitable? A couple models to kind of look at was like a group. Let's say I have a little bit of background in dentistry. My wife's a dentist. So I like to look at how much can a dentist, a hygienist, or somebody like that produce in revenue per hour. It's upwards of $300 an hour for their time. How, as a trainer, as a fitness coach, can you do that? Well, group model actually does work, right? If you got 15 people at $15 an hour, you're going to make a great amount of revenue, but you're at a really high amount of people, high amount of clients that you're going to need in order to generate that revenue. And so what we're looking at doing is, how do you create $200 to $300 in revenue while still keeping your staffing expenses under control and in that small footprint? And well, that literally comes down to small group personal training. How do you still offer and charge personal training rates, but still be able to provide a service where you can operate out of a small footprint? And that's where layered personal training comes in. That's our kind of coin term there. And if you're charging $75 a head for 4 people, you can do the math on why that works. Are you going to be able to charge just straight strength training and personal training on that? No, you're going to have to provide a lot more. And that's why our holistic approach is really beneficial and really helps people on every step of the way.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like all the pros of one-on-one and all the pros of like a semi-private or small group without the cons of either. That's this layered personal training model. It's very unique. It works insanely well. People love it. They love it more than one-on-one. It's a win for everybody. The owner, the person if it's not you doing the training sessions, your employee, because they get paid more. Paradoxically, you have higher margins too. And the client, with one-on-one, it can become a rent-a-friend situation. We've all had that. And they have a relationship with one person, that trainer, and it's easy to leave if that trainer leaves. It's all that. Like now they know 2, 3, 4 other people in there, and there's camaraderie. There's more energy. There's more work being done. It's more exciting for everyone. There's more of a community being built. So this unique layered personal training model has a very, very, very high perceived value. And it shores up all the weaknesses of everything else, where you get paid more, your employees get paid more, your clients love it more. And again, like you get over those bottlenecks. If, everybody coming in, not everybody, but the majority of people want primetime morning, primetime evening. If you can work with one person only, well, now you have to hire more. But the problem is there's not enough 2 p.m.s and 3 p.m.s and 1 p.m. to adequately pay the other trainers. So you're left with these underpaid, underemployed trainers. They're going to leave. Yeah. They're going to leave, or they're not bought into your vision. They kind of do their own thing. And I would rather have fewer, more highly paid employees and offer the best job in the city to them, because, man, that helps me sleep at night. Trust me, I've had all the problems for many, many, many years. And now that it's just such a better job, and everybody loves it more. And
yeah, the ability, sorry to cut you off, Scott, the ability that our Greenlight owners have to now hire the best trainers is a huge selling point for us, right? Because we were able to, offer much higher compensation than big box gyms. We get the best trainers in your town, in your city. Yep. And when you have the best trainers, guess what? Your clients are going to get the best results. If your clients are getting results, your clients are going to stay. So we're also solving a retention problem here, because we're able to offer such a quality service based on the employees that we have. And that is something that I wouldn't change in the world. And we could look at our model and we could say, hey, we can get even more profit here by dropping our per hour coach pay. But that would sacrifice the level of service that we're getting. And then ultimately it just turns into, clients leaving out the door after only 2 months of being there. So we won't do that.
Absolutely. And yeah, we could squeeze more profit, but at the end of the day, we don't need to. The way that this is set up with the square footage, right? With the startup cost, this is a very, very affordable, like you're talking like probably less than half of another one or less, right? To start one of these things up. I mean, we go lean and mean and reduce your risk, maximize that profit, your return on investment insanely fast. And yeah, we could squeeze a little bit more, but at the end of the day, we don't have staffing problems. And if you talk to if you're an independent, if you're a gym owner, you know this already. If you're not yet, talk to any gym owner and ask them what is the biggest pain in their ass. All the time, it's the staff. It's finding, it's hiring, it's retaining, whatever. It's always that. And so we built this thing to overcome the biggest challenge, to be able to grow these sustainably, to be able to scale these things to multiple locations if you truly want to. We have to overcome that. And everything is designed to make this as turnkey as possible. And the people problem, because we all know this, we all know how hard it is to hire people. Restaurants still can't even staff their places, right? You can offer an amazing job, and even have higher margins than almost every other comparative business out there, which is incredible. So it's this unique model that makes it happen.
Yeah. And I think the whole process and journey into becoming a franchise is also so valuable for a new business owner that it almost takes, it's like, you're going into school to actually be successful when you graduate versus, going to a normal college or university and, who knows what you're doing with your degree after that. But what we're able to offer people is literal hands-on training and everything that you need to be successful as a Greenlight owner. From our sales training, especially marketing, which is done for you. We go through a 12-week ramp-up process that leads into your soft opening and then finally into your grand opening. So you are being trained on every aspect of the business so that once your doors open, we're looking at profitability, if not on day one, very, very soon after that. And as a kind of like lower priced franchise option in the market, we think that what we provide from a training perspective and the product that gets put out on the floor is the best in the industry without question. And everything that we've just explained over the past 20 minutes, is our hard work going into that, as well as us realizing what the actual problems are. Okay, what are the problems in the industry? And this is what solves them.
Absolutely. And it's awesome just to see how this has evolved with the four of us. It's been an amazing project. And, with new locations just around the corner, it's really exciting right now. It is really exciting right now. So, Dan, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the PT Legends show. What's the best way for somebody who wants a little bit more information about a Greenlight franchise to get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can check us out on Instagram at Greenlight_PT. We've also got a ton of resources, blog posts and stuff like that on our website, greenlightpersonaltraining.com. If you want way more information in our franchising guide, hit us up at franchising@glpersonaltraining.com.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll leave those in the show notes too. Dan, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. If you got any value from this, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the show. And in the show notes, we'll leave the contact information for these two guys. So whether you're looking at possible expansion or even just starting your first one, or maybe it's a year, 2, 3 down the line, connect with them. Like, this is so important. This is your 10-year shortcut into doing it right. So give them a quick connection. And stay tuned with all the stuff that they publish. They put a lot of stuff of value out there to get you educated, get you primed. So when the time is right for you, you have a really solid foundation. So Dan, Jeff, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you for listening. We will see you next week on the PT Legends Show. Dave and myself, Scott, would love to thank you for tuning in and listening to the PT Legends podcast. You can get direct access to us by joining our free Facebook group. Go to www.facebook.com/groups/7-figure personal trainer. That's 7-figure personal trainer with the number 7. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep on learning and keep on living. Finally, if you picked up any tips whatsoever in this episode that you found helpful, be sure to leave us a review and tell us what you like best about it. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.